What if a single endpoint could slash your AI token spend by 27% without writing a line of adapter code? The LLM market exploded in 2023, but every provider locked you into its own API, its own auth, its own price sheet. You juggle OpenAI keys, Anthropic tokens, Gemini secrets, and still write boilerplate for each call. That friction kills velocity, inflates budgets, and creates brittle code that breaks on every new model release. OmniRoute appears as a thin free MIT layer that sits in front of 290 plus providers and 500 plus models. It accepts OpenAI style JSON, rewrites the payload on the fly, and routes the request based on cost, latency, or custom rules you define. The project started as a solo experiment by Diego Souza on GitHub, grew to 5K lines of code, and now pulls in over 42K stars. No venture money, no corporate lock-in, just pure community engineering. The heart of OmniRoute is a Rust core that streams tokens at 250K per second on a single vCPU. 2HKO drives async I/O, letting the gateway handle thousands of concurrent completions without thread contention. A thin FastAPI Shim exposes a Trust v1 endpoint that mirrors OpenAI's spec. The Shim translates JSON into provider-specific payloads, forwards the request, and streams the response back unchanged. Between the two layers sits a Redis cache that stores vectorized prompts for 12 hours. The cache cuts repeat calls by 42%, and it also shields downstream providers from identical bursts. Routing happens inside a JSON config you edit at runtime. Each model entry lists its cost per 1K tokens, its AVR EJ latency, and a quality score you assign. The engine evaluates every incoming request, picks the cheapest model that meets the SLA you set, and forwards the call. If a provider returns an error, the router retrieves on the next cheapest option. This dynamic selection saved a SaaS that generates 1 million tokens daily 27% on its monthly bill and reduced raw latency by 38% compared with direct OpenAI calls. Competitors exist, but they miss the sweet spot OmniRoute hits. LangChain's LLM router runs entirely in Python, cannot parallelize calls, and adds a full interpreter overhead. AWS Bedrock offers a unified endpoint, yet ties you to Amazon's pricing and regional availability. Prompt layer logs calls but never routes based on cost. In head-to-head tests, OmniRoute beat LangChain's latency by 1.8x and undercut Bedrock's cheapest model by 30% on price per token. The Rust core gives it a performance edge. The plugin system lets you add a new provider by dropping a single YAML file. The gateway is not a silver bullet. Adding a hop introduces 10 to 15 ms of extra round-trip latency, which matters for edge-only deployments that demand sub-50 ms responses. Storing prompts in Redis without proper ACLs can leak proprietary data. Routing logic can mask provider-specific errors, making debugging harder for junior engineers. Teams must harden the cache, monitor the Grafana dashboard that OmniRoute ships with, and educate developers on how to read the per-model error metrics. Future versions plan to embed a policy engine that enforces data residency, to expose WebSocket streaming for real-time token delivery, and to add a plugin marketplace where contributors publish ready-made adapters. If the community keeps the momentum, OmniRoute could become the de facto OS layer for LLM consumption, freeing engineers to focus on prompts, not plumbing. So the answer to the opening question: point your app at https://omniroute.dev, drop a tiny config file, and watch your spend shrink, your latency drop, and your code base simplify. The gateway proves that a small open source team can reshape an industry that many thought required massive cloud spend. If you found this useful, subscribe for more deep dives like this.